The mysterious case of the human skin suit stuck in the propeller of a ship. The murder of female student Katarzyna Zowada shocked people because of the brutal method of committing the crime. The mysterious perpetrator, who was knowledgeable about body anatomy, used her skin to sew into a jumpsuit. Katarzyna Zowada, a 23-year-old student in Krakow, mysteriously disappeared on November 12, 1998. She made an appointment to meet her mother at a clinic in the Nawahuta district to attend a psychotherapy session, but never showed up. Relatives said Katarzyna had a shy, withdrawn and sensitive personality. She was struggling with depression, after her father died in an accident that made her blame herself and feel guilty for suggesting the trip. At the end of 1998, Katarzyna began actively seeking help from a psychiatrist to treat her illness. Worried that her child did not attend an important therapy session, her mother reported it to the police. Authorities initially assumed that Katarzyna had missed her appointment and would be returning soon, and it was too early to report her missing. But weeks passed without any sign of Katarzyna, and no one seemed to know where she had gone. On March 6, 1999, the captain of a tugboat sailing on the Vistula River reported that something was stuck in its propeller and called for help. This was not unusual, as floating branches sometimes got stuck. But this time it was not a branch. To their horror, they discovered that it was human skin, from the upper part of a woman's torso, processed and sewn together to look like a jumpsuit. DNA testing later confirmed that the skin belonged to Katarzyna Zowada. On the 14th, authorities found Katarzyna's right leg floating in the river. Despite a continued search of the surrounding waters, the rest of the victim's body was never found. Pieced together the available evidence, investigators initially believed Katarzyna's body had been thrown into the water and then destroyed by propellers. But forensic analysis showed that the victim had been dismembered, with the skin from her upper body deliberately and carefully processed to create a wearable jumpsuit. It was even possible that the killer had worn the jumpsuit. The disappearance became one of Poland's most shocking murder investigations, with the mysterious killer being compared to Buffalo Bill in the famous film The Silence of the Lambs. However, the investigation progressed slowly as vague clues seemed to lead nowhere. The victim's family could not imagine anyone would want to kill Katarzyna, especially in such a brutal way. Because the killer's identity remains a mystery, his motives are also unclear. Many experts believe he was sexually motivated, but others point out that most sexually motivated killers repeat their crimes, and there has been no similar case in Poland since then. Others speculate that the murder was part of a crazy sacrificial ritual. In 2000, the investigation into Katarzyna's death was stopped due to lack of clues. In 2012, with the development of forensic science, the authorities reopened the case, exhuming Katarzyna's remains for further autopsy. Expert Duarte Nuno Vieira concluded that the student had suffered extreme pain before her death. She was beaten, still alive during the knife torture, and died of blood loss. The brutality of the crime attracted international media attention. International experts, including FBI representatives, assisted in solving the case but remained deadlocked. They built a profile of the killer, describing him as a potentially violent man with a strong desire for control, knowledgeable about human anatomy, and skilled in surgery. In October 2017, after nearly 2 decades of no real progress in Katarzyna's case, Polish authorities suddenly arrested a 52-year-old man named Robert Jankowski. He had been on investigators' radar since 1999, but there was insufficient evidence to make an arrest. Robert seemed to fit a suspect profile built years earlier, including a history of harassment and assault of women, great strength, and knowledge of anatomy. He had worked in a laboratory, where his work included dissecting human cadavers. Robert was also fired from the Krakow Zoological Institute after killing rabbits he cared for and processing their skins. After receiving a letter from Robert's friend about him, the content of which was not made public, the police felt they had enough evidence to consider Robert the prime suspect. Searching Robert's house on October 4, 2017, the police found traces of blood in the bathroom. They were even more certain when they were told that Robert had visited Katarzyna's grave several times. Meanwhile, Robert denied knowing Katarzyna, asserting his innocence. However, he was still charged with murder with cruelty. News of Robert's arrest attracted public attention to a case that has become known as one of the most gruesome crimes in modern Polish history. Katarzyna's mother hoped for a chance to bring her daughter's killer to justice after years of waiting. However, despite the police's evidence, at a closed trial on October 31, 2024, the Court of Appeal in Krakow acquitted Robert of the murder of Katarzyna. Robert was released from prison shortly thereafter. The case remains a mystery to this day.